The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sister Speak. You're here with me, Farin, and we also joined in the studio with
Sonia Maryam
and me, Sonia.
It's good to have you here, guys. Before we start, Maryam, do you want to tell everyone what our show is about?
Yes, so our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues and even form discussions on general topics such as religion, culture and politics. We also talk about identity and want to note that all opinions and views are our own and respect all other opposing views. This is a recorded show, so if you do want to give your input, you can message us on Sister Speak on Instagram or message us on Facebook. We'd still love to hear your thoughts.
You can also follow us on TikTok, where we'll be posting lots of content and little show snippets of the show. So now, before we get started with our hot topic, we're going to share our thoughts for the week, which is just a random thought that we have. So, Sonia, do you want to start?
Yes, my thought of the week is regarding radio and also partaking in radio. So I just wanted to talk about the year. Obviously, it's 2023. It's a new year. You look at what you're doing in life, the money you're spending, the hobbies you have, the commitments you've made. And firstly, it's good to actually review these things, because I found out I was paying direct debit for something that I no longer am a member of. Yeah, so please, guys, go over these things, check it. But aside from that, I thought, okay, what am I making time for? Work, hobbies, side hustle, gym, etc., etc. And obviously radio is one of them. And I thought this is not something I want to compromise on, because I really, really enjoy it and I want it to do well. And also it's a good time to have these discussions, because when else do you really have this dedicated time to talk to other people? I mean, you do generally in life with your friends or maybe at work, but the way we do it, like a plan, and, you know, we have some excitement around our shows as well. So I just wanted to talk about radio, and my thought of the week is, if it's something you think you might be interested, taking out an hour or two weekly, partaking in shows, presenting, social media, researching, just giving your time somewhere, just a few hours. And, you know, we want to go wider as well. It is volunteering at the end of the day, so volunteering in different aspects in the community. Please do get in touch with us regarding that. But my thought of the week is how I like to and continue to make time for radio.
Yeah, I agree, because we make a plan before every show when we have this structure that we can, you know, also research the topic, and it gives us more knowledge about it. So I agree with you. And with radio, it, like I said in the last live show, it also makes us, it's a reflection for us. So we can reflect. We don't reflect as much as we do in the shows when we're like in real life. Maryam, what is your thought of the week?
Yeah, just on that note, if you do want to join our radio show, you can email us at sisterspeak@inspirefm.org. So I'll repeat that, sisterspeak@inspirefm.org. And we'd love to hear from you. Like Sonia mentioned, we are looking for people from different areas. So if you're interested in social media, helping us to create TikToks, helping us to create Reels, Instagram, you don't even need to showcase your face on these Instagram posts, but you can help in terms of the creation of it. Or if you're interested in research, you know, we try to research show, we try to liaise with different stakeholders, we try to have guests from a range of areas of work. Again, that's another space that you could potentially be involved with. So if you are interested, if you have any sisters or cousins or even aunties, who knows, do let us know. Our email is sisterspeak@inspirefm.org. My thought of the week is quite related to the topic of today, the hot topic, which is about reflection and our New Year's resolution. Recently, I've been trying to pick up my studies that I kind of put aside because I was extremely inundated in December with family commitments. And it came to a point where I just think, I always give up on these studies. I always give up on Arabic studies because I always find it so difficult, and it always comes to a hard midway point where I make that decision, okay, I'm just going to start again afresh. But this time there was something in me and said that no, even if I'm finding it challenging, I'm going to catch up. I had around 7 lessons to catch up on. And I just thought, I'm just going to try as much as I can, because I read this quote where it said that when things get difficult, learn to rest, not to quit. And I just thought there's something so profound, and tried to kind of embody that. And alhamdulillah, I just felt so good again when I started to revise again. I realized, okay, this is the reason why I want to do Arabic. You know, I have a long-term goal in this, and this, I know I have it's something that I wanted to do for years now, since I was in sixth form. I even had the intention to do this after I graduated. So for me, I think my thought of the week really surrounds the idea of not to give up, especially when it comes to on your goals. Don't give up on your goals, and even when there is a time there's a stagnation, just take rest and then come back to it slowly. It's always about the first step.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when we are interested in something, then we start putting it off because you think, oh, I'm interested in it, so I'll get it done. But then I feel like if you start and then you don't, continue that, then you're just going to start fresh and you're going to get bored and you're going to lose interest in it. So that's really good that you took up on your Arabic studies. I was actually learning Arabic as well, but like what I'm saying, I put it off. Like I wanted to learn it, I was interested in it, and then I just saw it like a chore. So you gave me, I'm gonna start again.
Yeah, I think it's even from the Islamic perspective, it's all about consistencies rather than your output. So if you're consistent, you do a little every single day, it's a much more conducive to your result than it is someone if you do it in a dispersed way. And actually, there's actually in Islam, if you do things consistently for the sake of Allah, there's more barakah in it. In Islam, we believe this. So I think even just thinking about your intentions and just trying to do smaller amounts every single day, it makes it more realistic, makes it more sustainable, and it's easy on you. I've talked about Atomic Habits before, the book, because it's an incredible book. And even in this book, it kind of highlights how it's really important. If you want to create a habit, you need to make it something that's attractive or appealing. And if you make it too hard for yourself, you are unlikely to do it. So to do it small chunks is really, really important.
Yeah, consistency is key, like everyone says. I'm going to move to my thought of the week. My thought of the week is super random, as it should. My thought of the week is about naps. So I don't know if you guys take naps. I don't know if it's something...
Siesta, Spanish.
I don't think it was really normal, but for me it's so normal, especially on Fridays, because it's like the end of the week. So every single time, it doesn't matter what I have to do that day. I never make plans on Fridays and I just sleep. But I don't know if it's a nap.
How long is the sleep?
Like 8 hours. That's just
a sleep. That's a good night. That's not a nap.
I like to think of it as a nap, so I feel productive about it. But yeah, I take really, really long naps. I'm like a koala. The longest nap I've took was like 15 hours or something. I know. I don't even think it's a nap. But I feel like at the end of the week, it's good to make me rest, because then in the weekend I have stuff to do as well. So yeah, and then but I don't know. Did you guys take naps?
So I have very strong feelings about naps. I hate naps. I absolutely hate napping. I can sleep. I enjoy sleeping in the night when it's time to sleep for the next day. Napping I hate, because I wake up disorientated, discombobulated, angry. There's never been a nap where I woke up happy or ready to start my next thing. Napping for me in the middle of a time when I shouldn't be sleeping is so confusing, and it takes me out of the world. I just don't know why anyone would nap.
I woke up with the same feeling, but I love that feeling. And actually I saw there was like class about the sleep therapy that I obviously needed to watch, and I watched it, and naps are supposed to be 20 minutes. And then after that, it's just sleep. So,
but even 20-minute naps for me, I had one the other day because I tried it. Mm-hmm. I thought, let me not be negative, don't try that. You can't complain without trying it, which I have done before and like 5 years ago. And I thought, okay, let me try again. No, did not work at all. Woke up, my neck was hurting. I was like, is it daylight? Is it nighttime? I don't know what's going on with the world. Why have I got sleep in my eye? Like, it just wasn't working. For me, it's like, am I going into sleep? Am I hardly sleeping and then waking up again? I don't get it for me.
Yeah, and then
I think for me it's just like I get headaches. It's just like it takes me 20 minutes to even think about napping, and then it's just like it just feels like another thing to do, so I just don't want to do it.
But on the flip side, my work colleague, he naps, and he needs to nap before a big thing. So not necessarily, but like if he's got a gym, if he has a nap before gym, that's going to be the best gym session he ever had. Or if he's going to an event, he'll nap before the event. I don't get it, but he loves it and he says it works for him.
Yeah, it's like different for other people. I've been napping since I was like 12 every day after school. So every Friday is my nap.
So can you just explain? So you come home from school?
I come home at 2, I eat, and then it takes me like 40 minutes. By 3 p.m., I'm in deep sleep. Yeah, sleep, yeah.
When do you wake up?
Like 10 p.m. or something.
What do you do then?
Then I just
That's the time to sleep.
That's the time to sleep. I just bother my siblings, I don't get bored.
Annoy them.
So now we are gonna move on to our hot topic, which is New Year's resolutions and how sustainable it is if we actually do it. Because obviously it was New Year's like a week ago. So do you guys have any resolutions for this year?
I don't think I consciously made any New Year's resolution, but I did think that, okay, this month I want to get on back to Arabic, which I'm trying my best to do, and just join the gym, which I have done, and I have been this week. So I feel like it's just very early stages, and I don't want to say it because I have this thing that I don't like to tell people my goals, because then I get that false sense of gratification that I've done it, but I haven't done it.
Oh, Maryam, well done on joining the gym though. I remember you talking about it.
I feel like if you tell people, then you have a bit of pressure that you have to do it. So I like telling people that I'm going to do this. So then
like
if I
accountability.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that. I don't feel accountability. I just feel like they're going to give me that gratification. Like, you just clapped for me and I'm like, oh, well, I don't know.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No. Well, no, it's completely fine. You guys just have to ask me every week how I mean. So that for me, that's what I don't really, because it's always surface level when you tell people, right? It's not everything. So I just want to develop a habit first that I know that I'm going to stick to. So far, it's been good, alhamdulillah. I really enjoy going to the gym, and it's just quite relaxing actually to me. After the gym session, I feel really relaxed. It's just quite nice.
Good.
That's really good. I think I should join the gym as well.
Guys, everybody needs to be on it.
What about you, Sonia?
So I've continued. Thank you. I've continued gym from last year. And it is just the best, guys. But do you know one thing I will say about these routines and so on is that I don't know the statistics, maybe you guys might know this, but it takes a certain amount of time for something to become part of your routine, right? But do you know how amazing it is that once it's in your routine, you don't think twice about it? That we need to get there. That feeling is perfect. Because I'll give it gym, for example. When I first started, I hated it because I never had time. So I was like, I have to go after work. I'm already tired from the working day. I have to travel there. I have to pack my bag, etc., etc. That took a few weeks, on and off. Then you flop on yourself. You start again, you quit, you start again. But once it's part of your routine, it doesn't even feel like anything. It's just part of the day. You wake up, you brush your teeth, right? You just carry on. Same thing. You just carry on, work, gym, come home, sleep, nap, whatever you do, Farin. But I think that's a very good thing to take away from all of this is the routines that you make. It can be anything though. It could just be I'm trying to think, even studying, or say cleaning your bedroom or cleaning the bathroom. You don't have to make it a chore. It could just be a casual routine. Saturday morning I wake up, I do this part of my routine. It just feels natural. Your brain isn't thinking about it, and I love that. So when you get to that stage, that's just the bliss. It's perfect.
Yeah, because if you do it consistently, you don't even think of it as something outside of your routine. It's like brushing your teeth, waking up.
Or even my younger sister, when she used to go to mosque, and I'm sure a lot of people used to go to when you learn how to read the Quran, it was 5 to 7. So it's a school. After school, you go home, quickly have a snack or change your clothes or whatever, get ready for mosque, and then they go to mosque from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the first few times, I do remember, obviously, every child's like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to go, I'm lazy. Once it's part of the routine, it's normal. They don't even think twice. That's it, they're gone. Going to your mosque and you come back at 7 o'clock. We rearrange the day according to that. So, those routines are so important.
I read this quote, and it was saying that your life is a combination of habits, and that's why you should really be conscious about your habits.
Nice.
What are some new year, actually new things that you haven't done this past year that you're actually going to include this year?
Let's think. I'm going to meal prep. I hate to be talking about the healthy thing again, but it is. I just want to cook a bit more and prepare my own food more. That's starting tomorrow, hopefully. I've literally written it down. When you write things down, it's real, right? So I've wrote it down. I did tell a friend, because I'm kind of like that. I need my accountability. I need someone to remind me as well. So we remind each other. But at the same time, I'm a bit like Maryam. So I do have a bigger goal, which I'm not even going to say on radio. That's how big of a goal is. Because I have that thing where I feel like, you don't want to tell anyone, because you want to make it happen. You want it to happen. So if I tell you now, it's already for me, it's lessened I don't know how to describe it. I think you said it well, the gratification. You kind of feel like you're really spoken about, it's real. I have a goal to get something before the end of this year, so I need to work on getting that, basically.
You know the thing that on the 31st of December, it's 12 a.m., p.m., whatever, and you start, and you like, it's that day where you have to start your resolutions. And I think, like you're saying, you're going to start today.
Yeah.
But New Year's was a week.
I'm going to start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even though it's going to be what day is it tomorrow? 7th, 8th?
The 8th of January.
8th of January.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anyone, and if you do this, I'm like in war, because nobody starts their resolutions the day they make them. Like on the 1st of January, I've never seen.
Everything's shut on the 1st of January anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's why nobody has like really an opportunity to do it. And I feel like on the 2nd of January, then the gyms are full because everyone's doing their dietary like things and health requirements.
But I think it's a good point you make. You can start now. You can start tomorrow, and you can start next week as well. So it's not, don't feel like, oh, January's nearly over and I haven't done anything. And it's like, that's fine. Now, you still have time now.
Yeah, better late than never.
Exactly.
I feel like January, the month itself, is just trying to figure out and exploring what habits work for you as well. You don't have to be exactly meticulous about how you kind of reach your goals. It's just finding a way that works for you.
Yeah, I agree. So,
New Year's resolutions? You didn't tell us yours, Farin.
Yeah, so my resolutions for this year, I feel like every year I make one. I don't even make resolutions. I just have important stuff every month. So for example, this month I'm taking my NNAT. So that's like kind of a resolution, but if I didn't book it, then it wouldn't be a resolution in this month of January. I don't know if you... So it's like 12 resolutions, like one for each month. So for February, so I want to pass my NNAT, be a bit more social than I was last year. And I feel like on the 1st of January, I didn't do any of this stuff, obviously, because it's more, I think my resolutions this year is more about my health, how my personality, how I behave, nothing outside of like going to the gym, which I do want to do, but nothing that I have to commit too much to it.
I love that is that you have something to work towards every month, and I think that makes it really sustainable. Even for me, I don't see gym as I'm not telling myself this is a whole year thing, and I look at by week. In this 1 week I want to go twice, that's enough. So if I keep saying only twice a week or 3 times a week, that's very doable. I don't look at it as this whole month I'm going to do this many times. So for me, it helps me to kind of just think, okay, this is quite achievable. I don't look at it really long term.
Yeah, I think even a week, you can look at things that you want to achieve in that week, right? Yeah. So instead of making goals hard for yourself or unattainable, think about every step that you need to do to take. Like, for example, you said your exam that you're taking, that's for a wider picture, right? That's to get into law, study a law degree and so on. But I like that you've made your goal, and you like really whittled it down to exactly what you need to do for the exact steps you need to do to get there. And then you'll have to pass your A-levels, and then you have to, I like those steps that you'll...
It's like everything, I feel like everything's little steps. You can never take a big step, and like you can, but I feel like if you take little steps and you learn a bit more in the way, and a big step maybe is too harsh, or it's too like, oh, I'm like here now.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's our hot topic. Should we introduce the main topic?
Yeah, so this is, we're going to introduce the main topic now. So we're going to talk about growing up Muslim in a Muslim household. So we all grew up in a Muslim household. Alhamdulillah, our parents are Muslim. So we're going to start with the first question. So my first question to you guys is, how did you learn about Islam, and what are some things that you learned at home about the religion?
For me, I think it's been a process, and I kind of want to start off with this quote that I really resonate with, is that a lot of people feel that when you are Muslim, you become quite complacent in terms of your learning and your discovering. But I feel like there's this quote that someone shared that I feel has really impacted me, is that you can be born Muslims, but you can still find Islam. And I think that really captures my kind of journey in Islam. I went to Islamic school for a very, very short while. And then I left after maybe a year or two. I was very disgruntled in that time due to personal circumstances, and it didn't really suit me, the teaching style and in the way they taught Islam. In my personal opinion, it was actually something that really made me feel, okay, is this what Islam means? But I feel that it was just more of a reflection of cultural thinking as opposed to actually what Islam is. So alhamdulillah, it was only 2 years, so I was quite grateful that I came out. Once I came out of that school, and I started to discover Islam myself, I started to watch multiple YouTube videos. So I used to watch Umar Sulaiman, Norman Ali Khan, kind of mainstream sheikhs. So I was quite careful in terms of what knowledge I will get from internet, because it's very easy to find things that are not authentic. And obviously I was very young and impressionable, so I just wanted to go with someone that is commended, someone that has the credentials to be able to talk about Islam. So that in that period I learnt a lot from like these Islamic talks. I looked at topics that I was interested in. When I went to university, I feel that I wanted to tried to join Islamic societies, as we all do. Again, that was something, wasn't in terms of gaining knowledge, it wasn't something that I learned any knowledge from, but it was just meeting a diverse amount of Muslims. I do feel that the university I went to and the Islamic society that I went to, and a lot of Muslims do face this, and I think we can dedicate a show on this as well, is that we felt that there's like a disparity between people who feel that they can be part of Islamic society and the people that can't. So there's just a certain essence of Islamic society where you have to fit this certain notion of that you're good enough or you're Islamic enough, and I feel like a lot of people felt that. So even the people that I was friends with, I said let's go to Islamic society, and they would refuse because they said I don't wear hijab and they're going to say comments. And at first I was quite shocked, and I felt really sad that the whole point of Islamic society is to be accommodated to everyone. It should accommodate even to non-Muslims. That's the whole point of it. But when I started to engage with Islamic societies, I really felt that there is actually a lot of regressive mentality in there. And that's what my personal choice is. I disengaged with Islamic society actually completely. What I would do is attend Juma, and I actually had a personal, when I tried to have conversation with them, there was one instance which was quite shocking. And the only reason why I'm saying it on radio show is because if you are in an Islamic society or if you are in a position, I think it's really important to be conscious of this. So there was, I said to two of the sisters that, could you please have a event where you are inviting other faith groups to like an interfaith kind of event, and I said I'll help you facilitate it. I was working in the Students' Union. It'd be great for dawah, because in my opinion I wanted to give a good reputation to Islamic society, especially because there wasn't any Muslims particularly work in the Students' Union, and unfortunately Islamic society kind of had a bad reputation for not being very organized, unfortunately, but a lot of student societies do that, so it's completely understandable. So I wanted to kind of make sure that this society is embodying the concept of ihsan, excellence, and I wanted to support them to do that. So when I went to the Juma, I said to these two sisters, what do you think of having an interfaith event? I can facilitate food for you, I can facilitate a space for you, but we should do this. This will be very good in recognition of what Islamic society is about and embodying the values. The two head sisters turned around and said to me, and this is in front of everyone, Maryam, you like remixing, so you do it. And they laughed. They laughed right into my face, and I was so astonished that they said that to me directly. And it was Jummah, so there was lots of people in the area to prayers, and I just was quite taken aback. And I just,
that is shocking.
Yes,
shocking.
I tried to defend myself, and I was like, no, it's not about that. It's about getting Islamic society visible, and also showing that we're very fluid and we're open. We try to accommodate with the community, because that's what our religion is about. And they just continue to laugh.
Sorry, but if you're in an establishment that's university anyway, which is mixed anyway, you cannot be accusing you of saying something.
So then, I just felt that this was very. It's not exclusive to my experience. And
you had a very good intention behind what you said as well. They weren't even willing to hear your intentions.
Yeah, so I feel like that made me feel like, okay, I'm trying to help you. And I also knew what they were doing as well. There were so many things that they were doing that was, I felt very un-Islamic in terms of practices, and just logistically, because I worked in the Students' Union, and I saw that, and it made me feel really embarrassed that I'm so proud to be Muslim, and I would go tell everyone I'm Muslim, even the Students' Union. I would say to them, this is my religion, I'm so proud of it. And then I have this society that is doing the complete opposite of what they should be doing. So to me, it was like I was giving them Hasnan and I wanted to have the best opinion of them, and I thought maybe they just require support, and I'm here to help them. So that, in that case, was really upsetting. But to be honest, I just think this is symptomatic of many other issues that actually come from management of Islamic societies and their mentality, because a lot of the times, unfortunately, in Islamic societies, they don't allow women to be in leadership positions, and it really does not make sense, because it's supposed to be election based. Actually, you're supposed to vote in the president, and so there's a lot of politics that people sway people's opinions, and then they vote certain people, but they don't actually do it fairly. So there's just a lot of issues that we should kind of talk about one day separately, but kind of long story short, I think my experience was it was quite difficult at that time because I was really upset by it, but all it just made me do is disengage with them. But alhamdulillah, it didn't make me think, okay, Islam is bad. I just thought, this is just cultural mentality. And
it's always the representation thing.
So then that actually prompted me to think, actually, I want to do something myself. So what I did was, although my society it was very, nothing to do with Islam, it was actually more literature, poetry. I started a society and I used my platform, and alhamdulillah, I was able to host the first iftar in the university, and I had about 200 people, and it was my third event ever. And I had a diverse, exactly what I attended. I even reached out to Islamic Society, but they refused. No idea why. Again, they kind of have that same mentality that the society doesn't represent the values that Islamic Society has, which I can understand. Like from a fiqh point of view, I get why they said that. But I said to them, I'm happy to take my society's name out of it and just help you guys organize an iftar, and let's collaborate because I can make it big. Again, they refused, but alhamdulillah, we are coming to the end of the first half. But long story short, what I would say is that you will have a lot of experiences when you're trying to engage with Islam, but just don't see that as a reflection of the religion. Just it's a reflection of that person or individual.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the second part of the show. We are here from Sister Speak. So in the first half of the show, we were talking about our New Year's resolutions, how sustainable they are. We also talked about our own resolutions and what steps we are doing to get to that point. We were also talking about the main topic, which is growing up in a Muslim household. How did we learn to pray about Islam, about the religion, and how we feel about growing up in a Muslim household. So Maryam, you were talking about this, so do you want to just elaborate where you left off?
Yes, so I was just talking about my experience where I had a confrontation with someone with the Islamic Society that was very unacceptable, in my opinion, where they refused to kind of do an event because they kind of humiliated me. And kind of the reason why I shared this is just to show that this experience is just exclusive to these individuals. It's not a representation of how accommodating and how beautiful and how fluid Islam is and how encompassing it is of your individual journey. There's so much mercy and rahmah in Islam, and I think one of the things for me that really makes me feel connected to Islam is the significance that it has towards emotional intelligence and having manners and taking care of people. I mentioned in a different show about how important it is when someone's talking to you the Prophet ﷺ, he moved his whole body just to talk to that person, to make that person feel special. And I think these qualities are really fundamental in our religion, and they're the kind of thing that is a catalyst for me to kind of keep learning about Islam. So for me, my journey to Islam was firstly to learn about character, because that was my interest, and how do I improve myself in terms of my character, and what were the qualities of our religion from our prophetic tradition. Because if you think about Islamic history, and then if you study the seerah, the rules that came out of Islam in terms of what's halal and haram came out very very later. It was actually more about giving someone's rights, taking care of people's trust. It's about modesty in terms of your character as opposed to actually the apparel that you wear. So those are things were really the things that kind of drew me to Islam. And I really watched so many talks, and as I mentioned in the first half, that I found this really, really interesting, and I wanted to embody that myself, and I still feel that's a journey that I'm really interested in. And then I moved to university, like I said, about the experience that I had. Once I left university, I started to do Islamic courses on like seerah, just to gain more knowledge, because I felt that my degree was quite solely on comprehension, because I did English literature, and I thought our Quran has a lot of stories, it has a lot of comprehension, you have to understand contextually what was happening, and I developed those skills on a degree level. So I wanted to apply that to understanding my religion more and discovering it more. So I think for me personally, my journey has been quite individual. I haven't felt that someone is forcing me to believe something, because I'm exploring it myself. I do have sometimes those confrontations where I see culture being mixed with religion, and that's what makes me really uncomfortable. But also I think that has opened my mind as well to be understanding why those people are seeing Islam for this way, because it's what they've been taught. That's all they know. And if I went to the same situation as them, then I probably would come to that conclusion too. So it's made me a bit more open-minded in how I receive that. Because before, I remember when I was young, and I think this was just a amalgamation of everyone's opinion, is that if someone else believes something different, I would outright think it's wrong. Like, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
But as I've grown older and now have like discovered Islam more better, is there's different opinions, and that's completely fine. It all comes from the Quran and Sunnah at the end of the day. It's just a different way of viewing things. So that's kind of my kind of journey. I'm still growing and learning, and I think that's the beauty of Islam, that you're always going to learn, and that's how Islam was founded. It's about attaining knowledge and progressing and learning.
Yeah, Islam is such a big religion. I feel like you learn something, every little thing about it every day. And I think an important thing that you said is that you had like your individual journey, which I think is really important, because you really learn about the religion and you feel connected to it if you do your own research yourself, and like you said, listening to talks or anything. And maybe the things that your parents are like teaching you about Islam, they're okay, and you're like, okay, well, what about this? And maybe you disagree with your parents, and that's okay, because Islam is so many things. So you do your research, you do your individual journey, and then you feel more connected to the religion. So Sonia, now we're going to go over to you. How did you learn?
Just to interrupt before you ask Sonia, just to give a caveat, in no way I'm saying that you should gain knowledge and make your own interpretation. A lot of I started off watching YouTube videos by scholars who had credentials, and then I started to take courses under a teacher. I think it's really fundamental that you get a teacher to teach you the core of Islam, or even any kind of concept, because it stops you from swaying or having misinformation. Also to kind of follow your desire, because that's quite a scary territory to enter as well. So always make sure you try to get a teacher. There's so many online courses. Particularly I chose Faith Institute, and my teacher was Shabir Hassan. You guys can Google him, because I felt that he's very easy to understand. He was someone born in the UK. He's also from a Asian background, and he's under 30 as well, so he understands our kind of issues. So try to find a teacher, because I think it's really, really important. There's the describing stage, but when you want to actually learn, you need to have a teacher. There's no way you can not have a teacher.
Yeah, make sure they're certified, so you're actually learning about Islam, and you're not like getting misguided about some other things that you think are Islam but they're not. Okay, now Sonia, we're gonna go over to
Apologies.
you.
No, that's fine, thank you. I think what Mariam just said though really resonates with me, because I've never been through that process yet, so I am probably yet to go through that. So if we're talking about why did I learn about Islam, from the beginning it was obviously, I would say, at mosque. But by mosque, I mean, when you learn how to read the Quran.
Sunday school.
Yeah, exactly. But we had it like 5 days a week, I think. But the good thing is, as I grew older, my parents were like, because we're all girls, they wanted us to have a more tailored to women in Islam kind of teacher. So we got a female teacher to teach me at home. And what I liked about her is she was teaching us everything, not just the Quran, but all these things that no one else really teaches you. Like, if you grew up in a Muslim household, as you said, sometimes you might have parents that are very proactive and they dedicate time to teach things about our religion. Most of the time for me, it's here as and when. So, oh no, we don't do that, that's not allowed. Or, oh, yeah, this is part of our religion, this is how to pray. So yeah, praying, I can admit that was taught by my parents from a very young age. And naturally, I think kids copy their parents. If you see your parents doing it, you just jump on the prayer mat and start doing it underneath them. So that's fine. But like very, very specific things, like how, things to do with like how you live your life and the habits you form and stuff. I'm lucky I had a mosque teacher that was, not a mosque teacher, she was just an Islamic teacher that was teaching us this stuff. Then that stopped. I had an opposite experience at ISOC, completely opposite. So when I went to university, I don't know if it's because we had less Muslims at my university, so we actually all really stuck together, because we had very less ethnic and people of colour, very less Muslims. So those that were, we stuck together, and I met so many different sects of Islam that some of them I didn't even know existed. Obviously there was sometimes there's stigma, and people have a little thing where they're like, oh, because you're different, you're wrong, which is it's not the right thing to think. Like you said, it's all from the Quran. If you if you do have the same beliefs. But I think for me, that really opened my eyes, because I thought, wow, like, I'm meeting people from different countries, different sects in Islam, but we all come together for this one thing. So it was really nice. Also, we had loads of interfaith things. We had lots of events. We had like spoken word events, and Discover Islam we always had a Discover Islam week at our university. And even though, like you said, we are Muslim and grew up in a Muslim household, I was discovering Islam in those weeks. I was learning things that I've never knew before. So university for me actually really helped. And it's so ironic, because if I tell people where I went to uni and so on, you'd think that uni is known for being like weird, and we're known for very different things at university, but the ISOC was good. It was strong. And, you know, both on the female side and the girl side, I do think there was sort of good leadership, very openness. And then I went to Umrah in 2019, and that was the first time that I prayed Jummah in a mosque. So before that, it was either at school, university, or at home. But seeing, obviously, Jummah prayer, and then the ladies are usually behind. Or when it's a huge mosque like that, it's even amongst, you might be next to your dad. Like, these things happen in these huge mosques sometimes. And it was amazing, because it's different, obviously. You're literally in Saudi Arabia. And I think that for me was like, because I was at an older age. How old was I? Like 21. So it's an older age where you have to take the onus on yourself and study it yourself. You can't just rely on what your parents are saying or what you've learned growing up. And that's when I started studying online, looking at YouTube videos as well. But I haven't taken that final step. I think what Maryam said as well is that if you actually want to learn, you need a teacher. Because you're right, I think sometimes you go down your own rabbit holes of what you want to learn right, okay, that topic just came up in your head. Oh, what do we think about this in Islam? And then you just focus on that, and you just focus on that for so long. And it's like, okay, you've learned that now, or you think you know that now, move on to something else. So it's very, very true. So yeah, that's probably how I've learned. So a mixture. There's also sometimes with extended family. So like recently, I remember I went to like one of my cousin's houses in London, and somehow I think the conversation just turned into something Islamic related. And then, you know, one of my uncles was telling us something, and I was like, wow, I'm like 25, but it doesn't matter how old you are. Like you said, you learn all the time.
Yeah.
And he was teaching us things that we didn't even know. We were like, I was happy to learn that. So yeah, all the time, I'm still learning constantly to this day.
Yeah, you know, growing up in a Muslim household, I think that you said, you know, where kids just go to the prayer and they don't know what they're doing, they're just following their parents.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thing, because then they grow up and they think that it's, you know, it's normal for us when you see our parents pray, and then you just learn the surahs. I don't think you don't know the meaning when you're a kid.
Yeah.
But then when I first started to like learn how to pray, I remember I did it with my sister, because we were just 1 year apart. So my parents, they were used to work all the time a little bit. I think because where I lived, my community wasn't Muslim. Then what I did, I actually looked up YouTube videos when I was like 9 on how to pray. So even before it was, you know, obligatory on me, I started looking at how to pray and what to say. And I remember I put the YouTube video in like the corner of the prayer mat, and I was with my sister. Yeah, and we were like, obviously we were kids, so we were like, if she pronounced the surah wrong or something, then I would laugh. So it was like a really fun time. But then we played the video like 50 times probably, just in a corner of our house. I don't even think we were facing Qibla, honestly. I don't know what we were doing.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, but I think I remember it so like as such a nice moment with my sister when I was learning how to pray. Because I obviously saw my mom doing it, but I didn't really know, because that video had like subtitles on what the surah means, like, you know. So I really liked it doing it with my sister, and it's a really good moment, I feel. And also talking with that, like you said, extended family is really important. Because even if you are from the same family, you all have like different opinions about Islam.
Yeah.
So now, do you guys feel like there are certain things about Islam that you just know because you grew up in a Muslim house? Like I just said, you know.
Praying definitely. The first one would be, I think, praying salah. Like, you watch your parents do it, you join in at a young age, like you said. I would say being clean and tidy, and, you know, because hygiene especially as well, you just know it doesn't matter where you're from in the world. If you're a Muslim, that's part of our religion. So I think these things are just, I'm so grateful that it's just ingrained in me, you know, for personal hygiene and to keep your space clean as well, because if you're going to pray in that place, it needs to be a clean place as well. So I think that's one of the things you just know because you grew up in a Muslim household.
I also think the diet, like, you know what's halal, what's haram. Being conscious, like when you're younger, like you don't really know much about Islam, but you know you can't have gelatine, so you have to look for the sweets.
That's true. That's one big thing when you're young.
You have to know,
knows.
no, I can't eat that because it's haram, because it's gelatin. I don't know why it's haram, but I can't eat it. So I think that those two, I think I agree with Sonia, and I think it's also the dietary things.
Sometimes I feel like there's things that we just do like as a person, and then we find out that it's sunnah. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this.
Can you share one, like an example?
Can I share one?
I can think of one. Sorry, while you're waiting, I don't know if this is a sunnah or not, but you know when you knock on the door to someone's house, you're not supposed you're not supposed to stand like straight on. You should be standing at like an angle.
Yes.
Like
that's
sideways. So you want to articulate for me, Maryam, please?
So it's so the kind of the hadith is that when you knock on someone's door, the first thing is actually if you knock 3 times and you're supposed to leave, because that means you're going to disturb someone. And the second thing is
and do not do that anyway, naturally, without even realizing.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's more consciously, so you're not disturbing someone. And the second thing is that you're supposed to stand in an angle because you don't want to intrude their house or personal space, or there might be someone in that house that might be your non-mahram, or you just don't want to, in case, you know, they didn't expect you and their house is a mess, or, you know, their personal life.
Respectful.
It's just respectful,
yeah.
respectful of their household, because you are entering their household. So
there's a lot of sideways.
Yeah, just stand a bit in an angle to ensure that you don't see anything else happening inside their house.
So those are 2 examples I think that you do without sometimes even realizing that it's part of our religion, but we do naturally anyway. So what were you thinking of an example?
I couldn't think of an example actually, because there's so many things that we do, but I can't think of one. Like,
what about giving to charity?
Yeah,
I know that we give it with intention as well, and zakat as well, but sometimes when you are just on the road and someone has asked, sometimes you do just give to charity, right? And that's you know, it's not like it's a Muslim thing. People that are non-Muslim give to charity, but we also give it part of our religion and just part of you want to do it, right?
In the UK, Muslims are the most charitable. That's true. Statistically.
I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we Luton ranked the second on most.
Luton?
Yeah, charitable. Okay, now I really want to ask this question because I did see this girl, she was talking about her journey with Islam and how she grew up in a Muslim household. And she said something, she said, sometimes growing up in a Muslim household does not mean you feel Muslim. So I just want to ask you guys, have you ever felt or thought about this?
I have. So obviously because you grew up in, like you said, grew up in a Muslim household, culture, religion, and the way of your living in your family, it's all in one. It's all jumbled up together. There's no differentiation. There's no, when you practice Islam and when you practice your culture, it's all happening at the same time. So if you go to another country, like if someone asks you like your identity, like describe your identity, you might not even say Muslim, but you should, of course. But the point is, it's so within. Whereas if it was something you actively thought, okay, this part is my religion that I'm doing. Sometimes, let me give you an example. So say we can't eat gelatine, like you said, right? When you're a young person, you don't actually know if that's because of your religion, that's because of your family, that's because you're a vegetarian, or that's because you're Bengali. Like, you don't know where that's come from. So feeling Muslim as like that alone, sometimes it is a bit difficult and confusing because everything's jumbled up together in one. Even being British, I think sometimes, and being Muslim is kind of linked together. Some things that British Muslims are different to other Muslims in other countries. So, I mean, Maryam,
I think for me, my experience is a bit different because like I think Islam in my household was quite strong. But at the same time, once I start to understand what Islam is, I could definitely see that the influences a lot through culture. So that's where I used to feel this contradiction. This is not actually Islam, but how do I say this to my parents or articulate it when they really believe that this is Islam? Because it's controversial in culture, but they try to make it controversial in Islam, but actually Islam is very fluid, and it's actually, there's a lot of things that is logical in Islam that's illogical in culture and unacceptable in culture. So I think that's something that I really, really struggle with, and I still struggle with today. But also I just choose my battles. So that's kind of my experience at home. But for me, I think because I faced so much Islamophobia from a very young age, it's quite shockingly, not from my peers, it's mostly from teachers, people of authority. So when I was in primary school, I definitely felt that I was alienated for being a very unapologetic Muslim. I'd be very proud about being Muslim, wearing hijab, and I remember I used to, do my best as a student. I remember, and this is one of my kind of core memories, is that I really liked school and I really enjoyed it. And I remember that once the teachers photocopied my work and they gave all to the students because I was really good at note taking, and I was so happy. But I had another teacher, she accused me of stealing. And the same teacher, when we went to a residential, she told me to take my hijab off.
No,
and she said to me, you don't need to wear it here. I was quite chubby when I was younger. And when we went to this residential, I wasn't wearing hijab, number one, because she told me to take it off. And secondly, like I had some of my skin was bulging out because I was quite chubby. I was climbing a tree. And when we came back from residential, she put that picture in front of everyone. So my skin was showing, my hair was showing, and everyone laughed at me. And I felt so bullied, and I just thought, I worked in writing participation, I worked in higher education, and if my child ever told me that, I would 100% report that teacher, because that's against DBS. You literally infringe their right. And she was training to be a teacher at that time, so I definitely knew that I felt that she was Islamophobic, because she also accused me of stealing, when every other teacher in my school would say I was a star student, I was top set for everything. So that was like my experience of Islamophobia in primary school. When I went to sixth form, again, I had another teacher who was extremely Islamophobic. He would make very inflammatory comments about religion, extremely, to the point he started threatening me because I reported him again. So it was quite consistent, and it was always by people of authority who are supposed to be the teachers, the people that you trust. And to be honest, whilst it did affect me in terms of my mental health and it gave me huge amounts of anxiety, I think at the same time it kind of propelled me that to hold tight to Islam, because they're trying to rob this from me and I want to hold it tighter. So it kind of became a catalyst, and I think that's kind of what got me into activism and making sure that Muslims are advocated for, and Muslims in education, because I felt that in my experience in education has always been that there's teachers who are trying to be Islamophobic and stop me from excelling, but I don't want other Muslims to feel that, and I want them to be able to report that, or have the tools or skills to be able to articulate how they're feeling or what they're feeling, because a lot of the time Muslims don't report it because they feel gaslighted into not reporting it, or they minimize their own experience, or they reduce it because no one's going to believe what they're saying, or they just think that they have experienced this thing and they're taking it out of proportion. So for me, this is kind of like allowed me to firstly understand Islam more, but secondly made me really, really passionate about widening participation, really passionate about advocacy and representation. And that's why I always talk about it, because my experience has been through my education in this country, in the UK, has been quite Islamophobic. But at the same time, I really value some of the qualities of Britain. So in terms of mannerisms, instead of the first thing you learn, the magic words is please and thank you. Mm-hmm. That's something very intrinsic in our religion, to be grateful for someone else, to give people scope. And the second thing is about being considerate to others, and to have compassion and be kind and be generous. These are qualities that you learn from very young age in Britain. And I feel like if I lived in another country, I don't know how much emphasis there it would be. And if I feel like this is something that my British identity and my religious identity corresponded, I feel like in my cultural identity it didn't correspond as much. Though we have a good amount of hospitality, it's seen as being weak when you're too soft, or you're seen as too soft, or you're going to be walked all over. You should show that you're strong. But actually, British culture is you're in line with your emotions, and you're caring about how the other person receives you. You're conscious about what you say and what you do. To be polite, it's something that we always think about. So for me, it's about in my head I was differentiating my different identities and what I resonate the most. And I still feel like I appreciate my culture, and I love the food, and I love the practices, and I love the hospitality, but I feel like my religious identity is encompassing all of it, and that's always something that I feel very proud of. I feel like that's the forefront, and everything else comes in the back. But that's just my personal experience. Everyone has different other kind of views of how they view themselves, and that's completely acceptable too.
Yeah, for some people, religion comes first. So growing up, I feel like it has such a big impact, and like you said, it made you closer to Islam. Maybe some people get away from Islam and they feel disconnected. Like, why am I doing this? But just remember that God is always by your side, and even if you have these big challenges, and so if you lose something, just know that God is going to replace it always with something better. So never think that God gave up on you, because that will never happen. And just like you were talking about our culture clashing, I just want to ask you guys, obviously not obviously, but sometimes culture and religion is really linked together in Islam. So what are some things that you guys thought that it was like in religion, but it was actually cultural? Or
I'm just gonna try to help. Just saying, are you trying to say that the obviously Muslims are not homogeneous, and your culture isn't a reflection of Islam. Islam has its fiqh and its rules, but how has your culture impacted the way you?
No, I think she was trying to say, how does religion impact your culture?
like some things that you, when you grow up and you think.
Well, I can give you an example. So,
Okay.
like in
just to clarify what the question is.
in a lot of, like, say I have a friend who's Egyptian and he's a Christian, but he will always say mashallah and inshallah. So I think that's kind of where the religion came into the culture.
Okay.
Or like clothing. So sometimes people, like an abaya is a normal piece of clothing in certain cultures, whether or not that person is a Muslim or not. But in terms of us, what do you think? Has Muslim been infused in our culture in some places?
I won't be able to comment on that because I really don't know.
I don't know, to be honest. I think sometimes in clothing,
Yeah.
so I do think that has a major influence on how our clothes are designed and so on. But
I just thought of something.
go on.
Graduation. I feel like the robe that we wear, so the black robe and the square hat, it comes from the Muslims because Muslims are the first one to establish the first university in Morocco. It was actually by sisters, and they wore the abaya, so that was like the representation of the black cloak that we wear, and the square on our head was the Quran. So that's something that has been adopted in Western culture.
From our religion.
From our
Yeah, do
religion.
you know about clothing? I just thought of one. When I was growing up, my mom always told me to dress modestly, but I didn't think of it as an modest.
Religion.
Yeah, I didn't never thought of it as religion because I just thought of everyone in my family dresses modestly, so I have to dress modestly as well. So I never thought of it as a religion until I was obviously growing up, and obviously in that when you're growing up in that purity. That period, you always have phases where you don't feel connected to God, or maybe you don't know much about their religion. But you always have your ups and downs with religion, and sometimes with culture. Then it goes on. What do you guys think?
So I think just to quickly, I think it is a journey in terms of what Islam is like, but we are coming to the end of the show. So it was great to talk about Islam and talking about reflections. Join us next week where we will have a live show and where we'll continue to talk about different topics. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.